Okay, as promised, I'm doing a little review here of our slope and rate of change, that type of thing, for the quiz that we're going to have next class. So please make sure you are taking notes on this. You might want to watch this video more than once, and also listen to the test taking strategies I'm going to give you along the way too, because obviously you'll have it on a quiz, but you'll also have it on a test later on. All right, the first thing here we have given our two order pairs, 4, -1, and -2, 3. We have to find the slope. So just given points, we need to find the slope. Well, we already know that we have a formula for this. We have y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So that's one of the first things. I now have to just make sure that I assign my order pairs appropriately so that I have my y1s and x1s and y2, x2. So I'm going to start right here with this first one. This is going to be my x1. This is going to be my y1 then, because this is all going to be my 1s on this one. My second one here, this will be my x2, and this will be my y2, because this whole set of order pairs is my second order pair, so it's going to be my 2s. The other thing we can think about is the rise over run. It's the change in y over the change in x. So that's kind of how they're setting this one up. So I'm just going to substitute in for my y2, y1. That means I have 3 minus my y1 is -1, which when we look at that, remember my double signs here, this means this changes to be a positive. Excuse me. So this changes to a positive. So in essence, it's 3 plus 1 for this. My second one there, my x2 is -2 minus my x1 is 4. Okay, so this one I have my 2, well, I have a -2 minus 4. So when we go to the math, I'll show you what we're going to do here. Okay, so now I just need to do the math. 3 plus 1, that's 4. Remember, integers, we talked about this, -2, -4. So when they're like signs, I'm just going to add them up and keep the sign. So this is going to be -8. Remember, however, I need to make sure that I put my fraction in lowest terms. So these are both divisible by 4. Excuse me. They are divisible by 2, but I can also divide by 4. So when I do my math, I wind up with 1 over -2. This is my final answer. So my slope here is -1 over 2. My rise was 1, and my run is -2. That's what we're looking at for this particular problem. It's a negative slope also. So there's our first one. Here's the next one. So I have my formula. Again, what is the formula that I'm going to use? y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I'm going to go ahead and plug in my numbers then for my y2 and y1. This is going to be, again, this is going to be my 1s, this is going to be my 2s. So this is my y2, this is my y1. So it's going to be 2 minus 5. And then my x2, x1, this is my x2, this is my x1. So it's 6 minus 3. Again, if it helps you, you can always assign it the way we did last time, where you're putting the x1, y1 on top of the numbers to make you see it a little bit better. 2 minus 5 is -3. 6 minus 3 is 3. When I reduce this one, I wind up with -1. So my slope is actually going to be -1. Again, a negative slope, because -3 divided by 3 gives me -1. Because 3 divided by 3 is 1. Negative divided by a positive is a negative. My rise on this one is -3. My run on this one is 3. Because I'm just going to use, again, remember that this is the same as my rise, and this is my run. The change in y here, this part, remember, is my change in y, and that's equal to the rise. And then this part here is my change in x, which is equal to my run. Make sure you're keeping that in mind as you're doing those types of problems. Okay, a little bit different now. I'm actually given a line. I have a couple points, and I now need to find the slope of the line. There's a couple ways I could do this. I can go ahead and do the same thing I did a second ago. I can have my two ordered pairs. So let's go ahead and find out what the ordered pairs are. For this point right here, my order pairs are -2, +2. That's my first set of order pairs for that point. This point here, my order pair would be 1, -2. Okay, so if I do it like this, again, I can go ahead and call my first set. This is going to be x1, y1. This is going to be x2, y2. And then I could go ahead and set up the exact same way I did a moment ago. However, that's a lot of work to do. So in my opinion, remember I talk about this, if I can find an easy way to do it, I'm going to do it an easy way. So I'm going to go ahead and just use my rise over run, because this is the same thing as my change in y over my change in x. So I'm going to use my rise over run, and I'm going to count from point to point to see what happened. So I'm going to start here at this point, and instead of rising, I actually have to fall because I'm going down to get to this point over here. So I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4. So I fell, which means negative. Instead of rising, it's falling, -4. And I'm moving then running to the right. So this is a positive. I'm going 1, 2, 3. And I land on that line there. So there is the slope of my line. I can't simplify this anymore. I can leave it as an improper fraction, and please do so. So it is -4/3. Remember, we're not going to change that into like 1 1/3. It doesn't work that way. So that's my slope. Again, if I wanted to use my ordered pairs here, I would just go ahead and use my y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, and I would get my answer that way. I'm still going to come out with -4/3. Here's another one like that. Oh, let me go back a minute. I'm sorry. The other thing to keep in mind, we just said it was a negative slope. Here's my negative sign. And we can clearly tell it's a negative slope because it's going down. In other words, if I was my little person, remember we talked about this before, if my little person is walking across the x-axis, from here he's actually going down the line, which means it's a negative slope. Going down would be negative. Taking a look at this one, we can clearly see what kind of slope is it going to be. It's definitely going to be positive because if I walk across my x-axis, I'm going up. So again, I need to find the slope, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to think about my rise over run because again, I want to go the easiest way I can do this. Least amount of work, make it really easy on yourself. I'm given a graph, I can count. We can count our points. I'm going to start right here with this one. I'm going to go up to this one right here. So I'm moving from my point here. I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up. That's my rise. 5 is my rise. My run now from that point that I was just at is now 1, 2. There's my run. Again, I cannot simplify this anymore, so it is a positive slope because it doesn't have a negative number in there. My slope is 5/2. There's my answer for that. Again, if you want to check it, you could use your y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, this one, I need to draw a line. I need to draw a line through that point that has that slope of 1/2. Well, we just said that slope, we just talked about this, slope is equal to rise over run. That's what we're doing. Okay, so my top number here has to be my what? It's clearly going to be my rise. So this is going to be 1. My bottom number here, my denominator, is going to be what? Obviously, it has to be the run. So from the point that I'm given right here, this point right here, it doesn't matter what the coordinates are. I'm going to move up 1 because it's the rise. I'm going up 1 and it's positive, and I'm going to run 2. So I'm going to go up 1 and over 2 and make a point. I'm going to do it again. Go up 1 and over 2 and make a point. I could do it again. I'm going to go up 1 and over 2 and make a point. So preferably you have a ruler to do this, but I don't. we're going to draw a line. Now let me show you one other thing I can do. Since I went up 1 and right 2, I can also go left 2, 1, 2, and down 1 to continue the stair step in this direction if I wanted to. So now my line is going to go right about like this. Okay? Again, hopefully you'll have a straight, well, actually it's not too bad, I would say, but you want to have a ruler to use this, to do this, to make sure you have a nice straight line when you do it. But that's all it is. I'm just drawing a line, given a point, and given a slope. So we know it's rise over run. And so again, using that rise over run. Here we go again. My slope is -3, and I'm given a point. Well, remember that my slope is rise over run. A little bit tricky on this one, though, because I'm only given one number. My slope is -3. How can I make any integer into a fraction and keep it as the same integer? I have to put it over 1. So I'm just going to draw a line and put it over 1. That means that my rise is -3, and my run is 1. Same thing. Now this time, because I'm not rising 3, actually, because my rise is a negative, I actually have to go down because this is my change in y. Remember, my vertical axis is my change in y. So I'm going to, from this point here, I'm going to go down 3. 1, 2, 3, and I wind up right on the edge there. And I'm going over 1. So this is my point right here. Excuse me, I should actually draw a line for that. Okay, so there's my point right there. Now I can't go any further lower with this. So I'm going to do the same thing but opposite. So since I went down 3, right 1, I'm going to go left 1 and up 3. And that'll give me my next point right there. And again, if I go left 1 and up 3, I'm doing the same thing because one of these has to be negative. So instead of being -3 over 1, I just kind of changed it to be 3 over -1. So I went left 1 and then up 3 as I do my rise over run, or up 3 over 1 type of thing. Okay. So I have my stairs here, and now I can connect my dots. And again, trying to connect it properly. Looks like that. Again, hopefully you'll have a straighter line than that one. So that's what my slope looks like. Again, it is a negative slope. We can clearly tell because -3 is negative. So that is a negative slope, and we've got that correct. Okay, here's a couple of special cases that we need to make sure that we are keeping in mind. Okay, if I have a slope of 0, it means that my slope is literally just going to be a straight horizontal line. So since this is my point right here, I'm just going to draw a straight horizontal line straight through this, straight through that point. That is showing me that I have a 0 slope. Now let me kind of elaborate on this just a little bit more. Let's pretend that this is my, my y-axis. Okay, so this is my y, and that this is my x-axis. Okay. If I look at my ordered pairs for that red line, I would have things, and I'm just going to do it in a table here, for my x and my y. I have, for this point right here, my x is 0 and my y is 2. For this point right here, my x is 1, my y is 2. For this point right here, my x is 2 and my y is 2. If I go the other way, if I put a point here, my x is -1, my y is still 2. You'll notice no matter what my x values are, my y values are always going to stay the same. Right here, all these y values are always the same. So anytime I have a 0 slope, it means that my y's are equal to the same number all the time. They might have asked this question something like this, to draw the, in fact, this was on your stained glass that you did. There was something like this. They might ask you to tell me, or to draw the line when y is equal to 2. That means no matter what the value is for x, your y is always going to be 2. If your y is always going to be a certain number, that means you're automatically getting a horizontal line. Now on the flip side of that, let's take a look at this one here where it says the slope is undefined. Okay, when it's undefined, it means I'm going to have a vertical line. So I have my point right here, and I'm going to make a vertical line straight through that point, right on the line there. And that is my graph for my undefined line. Sometimes they say no slope, but the more appropriate way to say it is undefined. But again, they might also say no slope. So be careful. Again, this one over here, when you're saying that the slope is 0, that means I'm getting a horizontal line like so. There is a slope. The slope is 0, as opposed to being 1 or 2 or 1 over 2 or -5, anything like that. When you have an undefined slope, you have to remember there is no slope. That's what you're talking about there. Now again, let's put this into some perspective. I'm going to draw my x-axis here and pretend that this is my x, and I'm going to draw my y-axis here. Okay, that means that right here is my 0, 0 point. So I need to think of the points that are along the blue line. So I'll use my blue marker again for my x and y. Okay, so if I look at this one right here, this actually I'm going to do it in another color so you can see. If I do this point right here that's in red, I've gone to the right 2. That means it's a positive 2. And I have not gone up or down. It stayed where it was, so that was 0. If I do this point right here, again, I've gone to the right 2, and then I went up 2. So that was where my order pair is 2, 2 for that one. If I put a point right here, I am now going to the right 2, and I'm going down 3, so that's a -3. So this time, what is it that will not change? You'll notice that the x's are always going to have the same exact value. So if my x's are equal to 2, it doesn't matter what my y value is, I'm going to wind up with a vertical line. So if x is equal to the same number, whether it's 2, -1, 5, 10, whatever it is, if all of my x's are the same, I'm going to wind up with a vertical line, which means I have an undefined slope or no slope. So kind of keep that in mind. These are little special cases, and you do need to make sure you understand these. You're going to see these again on a test or a quiz. All right, here, this is pretty simple to do because it's just my regular formula that we already know, which is, if you said y equals mx plus b, you are correct. So when I look at this, I just have to remember what each thing stands for. My m stands for what? Hopefully you said slope, which is also equal, remember, to rise over run. Or we could also now talk about the change, let me write that, or the change in y over the change in x. Remember that triangle means change. So these are the different ways that we can see this. It's slope, it's rise over run, and it's the change in y over the change in x. Which, remember, I guess I should write this too. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So all these different formulas here all do the exact same thing. We talked about that in class. So all I need to do is know what the slope is. That's my slope, but just for good measure, we need to know what is this part here. If you said y-intercept, you are correct, the y-int, we can write it like that. But in this case, they're not asking me for the y-intercept, they just want to know the slope. So I just need to take a look at my formula that I have and figure out which part of this is my m. So if I rewrite this, this is still going to be y. This is equals. This becomes my m, and there's my x already, plus, and then this becomes my b. So I need the -8, which is my m, so my slope here is -8. It's that simple, just knowing the formula and knowing which letter it represents my slope. Okay, on this one here, I have y equals mx plus b. So again, if I circle what matches up, it's this right here. And that one is, slope is 2 over 5 for this one here. And there's my slope. It's really that easy, guys. That's all we need to be able to do for our quiz. Now we have some word problems though. So this is our rate of change type of thing. At the end of 2008, Ben had 1,200 songs on his iPhone. At the end of 2014, he had 3,150 songs. What was the rate of change between 2008 and 2014? Okay, in order to do this, remember we need to set this up with our formula for y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Excuse me. So from there, I need to then also have some ordered pairs here. So my first ordered pair, I'm going to kind of draw them over here. My first order pair, it says at the end of 2008. So I'm going to start right there. That's going to be my x value. So 2008. And then what is going to be my y value for that? It should be 1,200. Remember this time, don't put the comma in just so you don't get confused with your order pair. So my next order pair would be what? It would be 2014 for my x value because I want to keep the year first. That's what we're doing on the first one. And then obviously 3150 for my y value. Again, make sure that you're not messing up with this. This is going to be x1. This is going to be y1. This is x2. This is going to be y2. All right, so I'm going to go over here to plug it in. So my y2 goes first. This is my y2. So I have 3150 minus my y1, which is 1,200. Then I do my x2, 2014, minus my x1. Okay, I'm running out of room there, so I'm going to put my answer down here. Okay, when you do the math, what do you get for the numerator? You should have gotten this for your numerator. And your denominator would be? You should have that for your denominator because you're just subtracting the two. When I do the math now, actually, I'm not going to come up with a fraction, sorry. I need to remember I'm finding the rate of change, so I'm actually going to do the division now. And what do you get? You should have gotten this right here. Now, this is not our final answer. Remember, rate of change, I need to have what is changing, what's happening. What we're saying here is that Ben had a change of 325 songs per what? It should be songs per year, because that's what we're finding out. So he was an increase in a way. The rate of change was an increase, and it was 325 songs per year. Okay, let's do another one. At 5 p.m., the movie theaters had sold 120 tickets to Penguins of Madagascar. Should be just plural. By 10 p.m., they had sold 450 tickets. Find the rate of change between 5 p.m. and 10 p.m. Okay, first of all, I need to use my formula. So tell me the formula we're going to use. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That's the first thing. So I need some ordered pairs here. What will be my first ordered pair if I start with 5 p.m.? Five is going to be my x value, and 120 tickets were sold, so that's going to be my y value. What's my second ordered pair? You should have said 10 and 450. Because at 10 p.m., they had sold 450 tickets. All right, again, let's label these. This is going to be x1, y1, and this is going to be x2, y2. Okay, so let's go ahead and plug in our numbers. So what do I have on top? What minus what? should be 450 minus 120. And then what will be on the bottom? Should be 10 minus 5. Okay, so if you do the math here, your numerator becomes 330, and your denominator becomes 5. But again, remember now, I do need to divide this out. And so what do we get now? Your answer should be 66. But 66 what? What are we looking at here? What are we comparing? You should say 66 tickets, because that's what we're talking about here. The 66 is referring to the tickets, but it's per, oops, sorry, I don't need the P, because I have a slash instead of the word per. So it's 66 tickets per hour, because remember we're looking at the rate of change between 5 and 10. There were 66 tickets basically sold per hour is what they're talking about here. So don't forget, you need the number and you need your rate, whatever we're talking about, in order to have a complete answer. If you only put 66, you will not have a complete answer, and I will not be able to give you full credit. Okay, that's it. That's our quiz that you're going to have next class. I wish you luck. Remember, you might want to watch it more than once so you can practice and study, and also look over all the worksheets we've done so far. Have a great evening.